Hi you guys, it's me and Maeve.
Hello.
Hey, and I got home from the parade today. I just wanted to say how awesome it was seeing you guys. It made me feel so great and I loved it. I did miss a couple neighborhoods because I got separated at one point and then I had to wait and meet back. So I apologize if I didn't get your neighborhood, but I thought it was so super awesome seeing you guys. Tonight I'm going to go ahead and read a story called Rabbit Stew. And this is a great story. The main character is a dog, and of course the bunnies are the minor characters, but they're, as usual, quite clever. So let's go ahead and read it. Rabbit Stew by Donna Cosao, illustrated by Tamara Petrosino. Once, a while back, in a rickety old shack, there lived a dog. He wasn't very smart, he didn't have much money, but he was happy. The dog had a garden laid out in neat rows, nestled in a sunny meadow. Sounds to me like he was smart with gardening. Look at his beautiful garden. In the spring, the dog planted seeds in his garden. In the summer, he cared for the plants and watched them grow. Then he would pick and eat the vegetables he'd grown. The dog loved his garden. Look at how he digs with his paws. That's so awesome, but oh no, look what I see watching the dog. But he had one big problem. Hungry rabbits would sneak into his garden and nibble on his vegetables. They made holes in his cabbage leaves. They dug up his carrots and potatoes, and they chewed on his parsley. The dog tried chasing the rabbits away, but they always came back. Rabbits do that. Then one day, the dog looked out his window and saw those darn rabbits eating all his tender, new lettuce plants. That was the last straw. The dog ran into the garden and chased the rabbits around and around until he caught them at last with a leap and a pounce. Thought the dog. Now what should I do with these pesky rabbits? Maybe I'll make a rabbit stew. Yes, I think that's what I'll do. There they are. So the dog took the rabbits inside and put them in a large cooking pot. Then he opened his cookbook, but he couldn't find a recipe for rabbit stew, and he didn't know what to do. One clever rabbit said, "You could go out to the garden and get some carrots to put into the stew." Good idea, thought the dog. So he said to the little rabbits, "Wait right here while I go out to the garden and get some carrots." And the little rabbits nodded their heads and said, oh yes, we'll try our best." Look, he's giving them a little thumbs up with his paw. But as soon as the dog went out to the garden, the rabbits leaped from the pot and scampered happily out the door. When the dog returned, he saw that all the rabbits were gone. He dropped the carrots into the pot, feeling a little bit disappointed. Man, he was expecting that yummy dinner. The next day, when the dog looked out his window, the rabbits were nibbling on his onions. So the dog chased them around and around until he caught them at last with a leap and a pounce. Then he took those rabbits back inside and put them back into the large cooking pot. "Now," said the dog, "I have rabbits and carrots to make rabbit stew." Look at his face. He's like, "You get in there." He seems really nice. Then one little rabbit said, "But you must have celery for rabbit stew." "You're sure?" said the dog. "I'll go out to the garden to get some celery, but this time you have to remember to stay in the pot, okay?" The little rabbits nodded their heads and said, oh yes, we'll try our best." He's trying to look serious with him there. He's got his hands on his hips, or should I say paws. He's got a serious expression on his face. But as soon as the dog went out to the garden, all the rabbits scampered happily out the door. When the dog came back, he saw that the rabbits were gone. As he put the celery in the pot, he thought to himself, "Those rabbits aren't very smart. They forgot to stay in the pot again." Oh man, I just think that they already know they're not going to stay in the pot. The next day, the hungry rabbits sneaked into the garden again. So the dog chased them around and around until he caught them at last with a leap and a pounce. Then he put those rabbits back in the large cooking pot. "I have rabbits and carrots and celery," said the dog. "Now can I make rabbit stew?" "But you must have potatoes and onions to make rabbit stew," said one clever rabbit. Remember, we've talked about the word clever. It's another word that means smart, wise. "Yes, I know," said the dog, trying to look very smart. "But if I go out to the garden, you rabbits will forget to stay in the pot." After thinking a bit, one rabbit said, "You could shut the door, then we wouldn't run out that way." "Good idea," thought the dog. Then he said to the rabbits, "Now you stay in the pot while I go dig up some potatoes and onions." The rabbits nodded their heads and said, oh yes, we'll try our best." Out to the garden the dog went, closing the door behind him. As soon as he was gone, the rabbits leaped to the window and jumped out. Then away they ran, glad they had fooled the dog again. When the dog came back, he saw that the rabbits were gone. He put the potatoes and onions in the pot, and to his surprise, the pot was full to the top with vegetables. There was no room for rabbits. "It's just as well that the rabbits are gone," said the dog, "because they wouldn't fit in the pot anyway. I'll just make rabbit stew without the rabbits." Then he felt very proud for having such a good idea. Happily, the dog poured some water into the pot, turned on the stove, and cooked his rabbit stew. It smelled delicious. Oh, I love his smile. What a great thing. I'm glad he's feeling proud. For supper, he ate 3 big bowls of stew. Then when he couldn't eat another bite, the dog put some of the leftover stew outside for the rabbits. After all, he said to himself, those rabbits might not be very smart, but they sure know how to make a good rabbit stew. I hope you enjoyed the story. Rabbit stew. Sleep well tonight, and I'll talk to you guys more later. Bye.